Hey folks, it's Dan Chambers with Chambers Ranch Horsemanship. Right now we're in what we call the prime time colt starting season. So everything after the first of the year is officially 2 years old or 3 years old. And so we're kind of excited. We've got 6 colts coming in from our partners with Double J Bar S quarter horses. And we've got several outside client colts coming in that have been signed up for our program. And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes to talk about the time that it takes to get these colts started and to talk about the perspective of that time. With our program, we require that you send your horses in to us for 90 days. And a lot of people, they think 90 days is kind of a long time. They just have a different perspective of time. They don't think it should take 90 days to start a colt. They still think you can start a colt in 30 days or 45 days or something like that. And that kind of thought process, it just kind of needs to go away. It needs to die in the old ages, like when we used to rope the horses, bring them in, snub them off to a snubbing post, ear them down to get a break and hackamore on them, blindfold them to get a saddle on, and then just climb on and buck them out. So that kind of mentality, it just kind of needs to go away, and that's why I want to talk about the perspectives of time. 90 days, 3 months, that's kind of a blink of an eye in the lifespan of this horse. With our program, we're trying to set this horse up for success for the rest of his life. So we're trying to put a solid foundation on this colt, and there's no other way to do that without time. If, as a horseman, it'd be pretty irresponsible of me to just put 30 days on this colt and then send him home. I'd be doing a great disservice to that colt because I'd be setting him up for failure because he would be poorly trained and highly undereducated. And quite frankly, that's how horses end up in these rescue horse programs or these killer buyer pens or these low budget buyer beware trader sales, because those horses are just undereducated and poorly broke. And so that's what I want to talk about. 90 days really isn't that long when we think about it. Most of us, I don't know if anybody's made it through school in 3 months or less. I know I sure didn't. I'd say most of us out there didn't even learn how to tie shoes worth a darn in less than 3 months. That's why I still wear slip-on cowboy boots. So it's not that long for 90 days. And to start breaking it down, and we talk about the perspectives of that, I don't know of any training horse program out there that promises or guarantees to work with your horse or do training sessions on your horse 7 days a week. Every program has time off scheduled into it, whether they work your horse 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 3 days a week. Some people do rotational type program, 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days off, 3 on, whatever. So out of that 90 days, we've just knocked it down to probably around 80 days of training time. And to start breaking that down even further perspective, most trainers on average, they set aside 1 hour a day to work with your horse, to train on your horse for 1 hour a day. Well, in that 1 hour, that time includes the time that it takes to groom your horse, to get your horse tacked up, to get your horse warmed up. Then they work on the schooling session for that day. Then they still have to cool your horse out, tie him up, and get him untacked. So that 1 hour a day just kind of got knocked down to probably 30 or 40 minutes of education time. Well, just for the sake of this argument, we'll leave the training session, at 1 hour of education time. But we know it's less than 90 days, so he's going to end up with somewhere around 80 hours of education time. And so to break this down even more in perspective, So to compare that with most Americans, and last time I checked, the average American job that's considered a full-time job, it's 40 hours a week. We're talking about 80 hours worth of training, so that's like 2 of our work weeks. How many people out there have a job or a career right now that they learned how to do their job in 80 hours or less? Probably not too many. I probably couldn't even go down to McDonald's and become a certified fry guy in less than 2 weeks, let alone run the drive-through or something like that. So breaking it down and thinking about this, putting that kind of perspective, 80 hours, that's not that long to learn how to do his job for the rest of his life. I mean, could you imagine if a horse really thought like we do? You know, how much stress and anxiety would he have if he knew the goals that you're putting on him, that high level of aspect that you're wanting, for him to learn his job for the rest of his life in less than 2 weeks? I mean, if you had to learn your job in less than 2 weeks, could you imagine your stress level? I mean, you'd be, what's going to happen? I can't do my job right. I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to pay my bills. I'm going to lose my home. I'm going to end up out on the street, right? You're going to end up in these killer pens because I can't do my job. I'm undertrained. 90 days, it's a blink of an eye. It takes a long time for these horses to actually learn their job and to be able to do it well. Most of the horses that come through our colt starting program, when they leave our program, they've graduated school. Like, they're done. There is no more riding lessons. They don't have clinics coming up in their future. They're not coming back to the trainers for a tune-up or continuing education later on down the road. So that horse has to know everything that he needs to know for the rest of his life by the time he leaves me. And I just don't feel like I could do a good job for a horse or for that client in less than 90 days. Whether you're getting ready to send a colt out to get started this year, or you're going to take on the job yourself, whether you're going to use us, it doesn't matter. I just hope this little bit of information helps you and to think about it. And, if you're sending a horse into training, do the right thing by the horse. Give him the time that he needs. Give your trainer the time that it takes. There is no substitute for time. It just takes time to get these horses broke. So I hope you all continue to follow us on social media, Facebook, hit like, share on these videos. And as always, we wish people, drop us a comment. We like to hear what feedback from people. So till we see you next time, keep riding safe.